Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to Evening Devotion. Tonight we're going to be reading out of Exodus 3:7. I know their sorrows. The whole verse says, And the Lord said, I have surely seen the oppression of my people who are in Egypt, and have heard their cry because of their taskmasters, for I know their sorrows. Let's read this in context. This is the burning bush. Verse 1. Now Moses was tending the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian. And he led the flock to the land, or to the back of the desert, and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. And the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a flame of fire from the midst of the bush. That's Jesus. In this instance, this is Jesus. So he looked, and behold, the bush was burning with fire, but the bush was not consumed. Then Moses said, I will now turn aside and see this great sight, why the bush does not burn. So when the Lord saw that he turned aside to look, God called to him from the midst of the bush and said, Moses, Moses. And he said, Here I am. And then he said, Do not draw near this place. Take your sandals off your feet, for the place where you stand is holy ground. Moreover, he said, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. And Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look upon God. And the Lord said, I have surely seen the oppression of my people who are in Egypt, and have heard their cry because of their taskmasters, for I know their sorrows. So I have come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them up from that land to a good and large land, to a land flowing with milk and honey, to the place of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites. Now therefore, behold, the cry of the children of Israel has come to me, and I have also seen the oppression with which the Egyptians oppress them. Come now, therefore, and I will send you to Pharaoh, that you may bring my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt. But Moses said to God, Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh, and that I should bring the children of Israel out of Egypt? This is like, all of us ask this. Why me? Why are you picking me for this? So he said, I certainly will be with you, and this shall be a sign to you that I have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you shall serve God on this mountain. Powerful stuff that happened back then. It doesn't happen like it used to, but it still happens quite a bit. In fact, happens more often than we think. The child is cheered as he as he sings, This my Father knows, and shall not we be comforted as we discern that our dear friend and tender soul husband knows all about us, Jesus Christ. Number one, he is the physician. And if he knows all, there is no need that the patient should know. He is the physician, and if he knows all, there is no need that the patient should know. There are some things we don't need to know. We just have to come to a place where we accept that we don't need to know them. Hush, thou silly, fluttering heart, prying, peeping, and suspecting. What thou knowest not now, thou shalt know hereafter. And meanwhile, Jesus, the beloved physician, knows thy soul in adversities. Why need the patient analyze all the medicine or estimate all the symptoms? This is the physician's work, not mine. It is my business to trust and his to prescribe. There are things that are going on in your life and you don't know why, and you're analyzing why this, why that. Sometimes you just need to not worry about it. Just put it in the Lord's hands and trust him to deal with it, and he will. If he shall write his prescription in uncouth characters, which I cannot read, so even all that back then, whenever this was being written, however long ago it was, evidently it was quite a while, doctors wrote with chicken scratch then too. I will not be uneasy on that account, but rely upon his unfailing skill to make all plain in the result, however mysterious in the working. Sometimes the process doesn't, like you've heard the phrase before, trust the process. Sometimes the process, you don't need to know how the process works. You just need to know what happens concerning the result. It is the result that we're trying to get to. None of us know fully how the rapture of the church is going to work. We only go by what the scriptures have shown us. But that's okay. We don't have to know. Too many people are dedicating too much time desperately trying to find out exactly what that day is. We don't need to know. We don't need to. They desperately try to find out all these tiny little idiosyncrasies. Now, some the Lord reveals, but some you'll come to a place where it's like, you know what? I just don't need to know this. I trust that it's exactly the way he said it's going to be. And so I'm just going to rely on him and wait on him. Sometimes the best thing we can do, the most powerful thing we can say is nothing and just wait. Number 2, he is the master, and his knowledge is to serve us instead of our own. He is the master, and his knowledge is to serve us instead of our own. We are to obey, not to judge. The servant knoweth not what his Lord doeth. We don't know everything that he's doing. We don't fully understand everything that he's got going on or why he's doing it. We don't know what he's doing in the heart of another, so we can't really judge another. We can judge some actions, but we cannot condemn, because the Lord may be using that person for something. We don't know. The servant knoweth not what his Lord doeth. Shall the architect explain his plans to every hodman on the works? If he knows his own intent, is it not enough? So if somebody's building a house, and you got a work crew that's going to build a house, does the architect who drew up the plans need to explain to every workman? No. They put hammer to nail. They put hammer to nail. They put brush to paint the walls. I mean, they do what their job is. They don't worry about that stuff. That's what he does. The vessel on the wheel cannot guess to what pattern it shall be conformed. But if the potter understands his art, what matters the ignorance of the clay? If he knows what he's doing, who cares if we don't know what we're doing? Now, there are some things we would love to know. But you know what? This side of heaven, there's a lot of things we're not going to know. Even in the scriptures, there's a lot of things we're not going to know. My Lord must not be cross-questioned any more by one so ignorant as I am. Very interesting. In the scriptures, we see a lot of things talking about don't question. There's a lot of things we shouldn't question. And we've got to come to that place where we realize, some questions I ask, the Lord isn't going to answer. It's just the way it is. Number 3, he is the head. All understanding centers there. What judgment has the arm? What comprehension has the foot? All the power to know lies in the head. Why should the member have a brain of its own when the head fulfills for it every intellectual office? Here then must the believer rest his comfort in sickness. Not that he himself can see the end, but that Jesus knows all. Sweet Lord, be thou forever eye and soul and head for us, and let us be content to know only what thou chooseth to reveal. Sometimes we're not going to know it all. And we need to come to a place where we understand, you know what, I'm not going to. This side of heaven, I am not going to gain all knowledge and discover all things. Some things are going to escape me. It's not for me to know. In the position that I'm in, it's not for me to know. If I was in a different position, maybe then, and the Lord would reveal it, because I would be ready at that time for it. But some things we're just not meant to know. They are mysteries, and they will remain mysteries until we see the Lord. Then he'll explain it all. Then we'll understand. And so what we have to do as believers is come to that place where we understand, you know what? It's not my position to know these things just yet. The Lord will reveal them later. And rest assured in that fact. Take his word at face value. And if there's anything you need to know, he'll reveal it to you, and he will steer you in the direction you should go. He will make sure that you're where you should be. Walk in faith. Walk in truth. Don't walk by sight. And for a lot of people, it's really hard to not beat yourself up or wear yourself out trying to discover what about this and what about that. I can tell you the one question, Lord, why did you choose me? And everybody has that question at some point in their walk. We're never going to know that question because there's no need for us to know what the answer is to that question. It doesn't matter why he chose us. We glory and we praise him and we thank him and we glorify him because he chose us. Sometimes you can get yourself into a situation where you ask too many questions and go too in depth into it and dedicate too much time trying to find the answer that you can, surprisingly enough, you can end up getting into idol worship because you're dedicating too much time trying to discover secrets that aren't meant for you to understand. It is what it is. The apostles didn't understand all things. What did Jesus tell them before he died and was crucified and died and ascended? I have many more things I want to share with you, but you're not ready for it yet. A lot of those things he didn't share with them. He shared them with Paul, and then Paul told the others. So this is something each one of us has to realize. We can't sit there and just go on and wear ourselves out basically lusting after somebody else's gift from the Lord, because it can turn into a lust. I want this gift, I want this. And we just go on and on and on saying the same prayer over and over again, asking for this same gift because somebody else has it, and we want to be like them. You know what? The Lord didn't give me any gifts. The only one I want to have more than anything else is discernment, so I can discern what I should be doing and what right and wrong is. Discern what the Lord's will is. But as far as that goes, that everybody has that. He has to give it that to us. But I don't want it to be like anybody else, and I don't want to have anybody else's gift. What the Lord deems me worthy of, what the Lord wills to give me, that I will be happy with, that I will accept. A lot of people who are doing this in 2017, 2018, 2019, doing YouTube videos, desire to go to seminary. Several of them didn't make it. They got into it and couldn't finish it. They realized there was something wrong with seminaries because they wanted to go into the pulpit. You know what? I don't need that. If the Lord leads me there, okay. I don't need that. I'm content doing this right here, what he's doing right here, encouraging the brethren, strengthening the brethren, upholding the brethren. That's what we're supposed to do. Average Joe hidden out here in the middle of nowhere. Nobody knows who I am. And we're just doing this. This is like grassroots type worship. Pastor Billy Crone talks about, some of the greatest Bible studies are when it's just a few people. Even Chuck Missler talks about the best ones are just a few people. When it's just a few people, that's the greatest Bible study, because you get too many people, disrupting it. Just a few people. And that's where the greatest discoveries come from. That's where the best worship comes from, is the small groups of people. And you know what? I think it was meant to be that way. I think that's why he's got us in little pockets here and there and everywhere. Oh, this phone has been ringing off the hook. That's why he's got us in little pockets here and there and everywhere. That's why he has us spread out. So we'll work in, because if you get a big group, so several people get lost in the shuffle that have questions or even have things to share. It gets lost in the shuffle. People are starting to realize some of the best churches are happening in people's living rooms. Look at the brick and mortar church today. Look at what they're doing today. They're falling away in droves. They had Jan Markell. What's one guy's name? Rock Harbor Church. Forget the pastor's name there, but he has a website you can go to. I've been to it. I was looking to see what churches here in Texas were affiliated with them that have been checked, and we can go to them. And I saw a video a couple weeks ago, or a month ago, and he was talking about how they had to go revise it. And they've had to revise it multiple times because a bunch of those churches are changing their mission statement and their doctrine. Some of them have a mission statement, but what they teach in the church is completely different than the mission statement. So they've had to revise it. A lot of those people, Jan Markell, Amir Sarfati, Billy Crone, on and on and on, all the big names that we watch, a lot of them, they have a circuit that they travel, and they go church all around the country. They've had to stop going to a lot of those churches because they changed their, and some of those churches said, we don't want you coming here anymore, because they've changed their doctrine, they've changed their mission statement. That's amazing. The best churches are in the home. Bare bones, Bible and people, going through it step by step. That's incredible. The biggest discoveries happen there. The greatest worship happens there. Sometimes the Lord doesn't want us to know more than what we should, because it could cause us to go into pride. So we have to understand that he knows and sees things we don't. And so he understands that if we go to a certain place, it might actually be a negative for us instead of a benefit, especially if we're not ready. And so we've got to settle it in our hearts and come to a place where there's some things in this Bible I'm not going to know. And I'm okay with that, because when I get on the other side, then I will. There's some things here that I'm not going to understand, and I'm okay with that. When I get to the other side, then I will. There's a lot of mistakes I'm going to make. There's a lot of misunderstandings I'm going to have. There's all kinds of things that I'm not going to get right, but that's okay, because Jesus is my all in all. And when I get on the other side, it'll all be corrected, because he saves me. He saves all of us. I don't save me. My performance doesn't save me. He does. So I have to look to him and trust him, because I'm going to mess it up. I'm going to make mistakes. Uploaded the wrong video for evening devotion yesterday. I'm human. He's God. And He will set everything right when the time comes. Relax, brothers and sisters. Take stock in what you do know and what you have and what you are learning. Study every day. Walk in faith and in truth. Believe the Bible and the gospel. Believe Jesus and trust Him for all the things you need, and glorify God our Father in everything you can. Thank you all for joining me for evening devotion, and I'll see you in the next video.